UFC Fight Night Corey Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo has just taken place, and this is my reaction to the entire card. So there were 12 fights in total on the card, 6 finishes on the card. Let's start off with the main event. Just quickly, it sounded like this card would have been good. 12 fights, half of them were finishes. It wasn't. This Fight Night card was ass. You know what I'm saying. If you watch this, there isn't really much to talk about on this card in a positive light anyway. Starting off with the main event, Corey Sandhagen versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I was unaware that Deiveson Figueiredo was fighting under a different rule set. I wasn't made aware that Figueiredo was told he's only allowed to attempt leg locks and try and work off his back and not throw punches and strikes. I was unaware. I didn't understand that they had signed a different kind of mixed rules fight where Corey Sandhagen was going into an MMA fight and Deiveson Figueiredo was going into a fucking jiu-jitsu matchup. Because what the fuck was that? What was that? What was that fight? Why was Corey Sandhagen and Deiveson Figueiredo so obsessed with leg locks? I didn't get it. Deiveson Figueiredo goes for the leg lock in the first round. He arguably gets 10-8'd by Corey Sandhagen, who's just lighting him up with strikes on the ground, while Figueiredo's just trying to make love to the guy's foot. I don't understand what Figueiredo's game plan was, especially when he attempted the leg lock, the heel hook, whatever it was he was going for. He was attacking the leg, realised he couldn't get it, and he was constantly obsessed with trying to chase that position. And it wasn't as if like Figueiredo went for the leg lock to try and then reverse it and gain position, like what we've seen Corey Sandhagen do at times, although Corey Sandhagen himself was a bit too keen on getting the leg locks, in my opinion. It was just such a weird matchup. It really was. Figueiredo just looked like he was taking a paycheck. It looked like Figueiredo, I think he might have been injured before going in hand, or something was up, because that wasn't how Figueiredo normally fights. On the feet, some things we've seen, Corey Sandhagen looked good. He's not as he doesn't move as much as he used to. Yes, he was constantly switching stances, but he was kind of mirroring what Deiveson Figueiredo was doing when Figgy was switching stances. Corey Sandhagen was switching stances. What I will say though, one positive about this matchup is Corey Sandhagen's leg kicks look really good. Corey Sandhagen as a whole looked good in this matchup, and then again, did Corey Sandhagen look like he's improved and he looked really good in this matchup, or was Deiveson Figueiredo just that shit? I really don't understand what Figueiredo's game plan was. It honestly was as if it was a mixed rules fight and Figueiredo had signed up just to do jiu-jitsu off his back, and Corey Sandhagen signed up for an MMA matchup. Round 1, arguably a 10-8. Round 2, similar stuff happens. Both guys are obsessed with the leg lock. Figueiredo and Corey Sandhagen end up in the 50-50 position, and Corey Sandhagen basically ends up just tearing Deiveson Figueiredo's knee. Figueiredo basically verbally taps. You see him like squeal. I don't want to say squeals the word, but he makes like ah! Like he probably didn't make that noise, but something like that. And then Corey Sandhagen started landing strikes, and Figueiredo tapped out. A really lackluster main event, to be honest. I expected more from this. Corey Sandhagen won, so I did get the prediction right for this matchup. Not the way I thought it would have happened. Corey Sandhagen called for a title shot after the win. Personally, I think Sandhagen needs at least one more win, because if O'Malley loses to Merab, there are talks that Jan is going to have a fight soon. So then if Jan gets that fight in close enough time, then Jan will obviously deserve the title fight over Corey Sandhagen. So Sandhagen does need at least one more win. Who does he fight? I'm unsure. You can maybe do him versus Henry Cejudo, maybe. Could be an option. Or maybe him versus Aldo, if Aldo comes out on top. Or you might even have to do him versus Mario Batista, if Mario Batista beats Chito Vera. Hopefully that does not happen though. But yeah, a shit main event. Not really anything positive to say about it. Moving on to the co-main event, this was arguably the highlight of the card, if we're being honest. You had Renan de Ridder, fraud check, and Bo Nickel. That's what this was. American wrestling doesn't work in MMA. Out and out just wrestling doesn't work in MMA. MMA grappling is so different. Renan de Ridder actually is good, and like I said in my predictions video, I was going with Renan de Ridder purely based off experience, because experience is a big factor and you can't buy experience, you just get it by constantly being in the cage. And I understand Bo Nickel isn't new to competition, he's been there before, obviously he's wrestled quite a lot, but he had nowhere near the level of experience in MMA than Renan de Ridder had. Obviously, Renan de Ridder is fairly new to the UFC. He now is 3-0 in the promotion, but the guy was a two-weight world champion in one championship, and I understand one championship, the level of competition isn't the same as the UFC, but really, to be honest, I knew Bo Nickel wasn't as good as what the UFC were kind of projecting him to be when I seen him go to a decision against Paul Craig. And it's not like, he went to a decision with Paul Craig and Paul Craig's shit. Paul Craig's probably the best, worst MMA fighter of all time. The guy's beat Jamal Hill, Magomed Ankalaev, he's beat Nikita Krylov, but then he loses the likes of Bo Nickel, you know what I mean? And yeah, after knowing he struck all 3 rounds with Paul Craig, couldn't get Paul Craig out of there. And Paul Craig's striking is the biggest weakness in the guy's game. All he's got is a rear body kick, and didn't look to take down Paul Craig and show off this really high level wrestling that he does possess. Renan de Ridder looked like a heavyweight in there, if I'm going to be honest. This guy did not look like he was a middleweight. There was a clear size difference between him and Bo Nickel, and Renan de Ridder has a horrible fight style to fight against. He's constantly heavy on you, dirty boxing, looking to trip you up, sweep you up, all the stuff he's doing in the clinch. Renan de Ridder's knees last night, in there against Bo Nickel were absolute money, and Bo Nickel was really struggling in there. I thought on the feet Bo Nickel would have beaten Renan de Ridder. I thought Renan de Ridder maybe would have came on strong in the later half of the round and beat Bo Nickel by decision, or maybe like a submission when Bo Nickel slips up in the grappling, because I thought Bo Nickel was really going to have his way with Renan de Ridder on the feet. And when the fight started, Bo Nickel did have success in a weak early exchange they had. But yeah, Renan de Ridder just walked forward like the Terminator, kept clinching with him, landing big knees in the body. That is what done it, just the constant knees to the body. Yes, Bo Nickel did land the takedown, but then he ended up pulling guard for a guillotine, which when you're in there against someone that is as high level as Renan de Ridder, pulling guard for a guillotine isn't going to work. It's just not. It's like the leg lock shit. It doesn't work in high level MMA. But yeah, he was able to take down Renan de Ridder. Renan de Ridder was able to switch the position on him. You get into round 2, and yeah, Bo Nickel, when he was sat on the stool, it kind of looked like he was done there and then. It kind of looked like he knew Renan de Ridder wasn't folding easy, and Renan de Ridder was putting pressure on him, and Bo Nickel couldn't really find a way to stop that pressure. Renan de Ridder ended up clinching with him again, landing big knees to the body. I'm seeing a lot of people say like Bo Nickel quit and stuff like that. If you've trained in whether it be boxing, any sort of combat, like a certain shot to the body can quite literally just shut you down. It's not as if like, Bo Nickel chose to quit. I don't know if he was hitting the liver or not. It kind of looked like the solar plex where the knee landed, but that actually can happen when you're hit with a body shot. I know from experience, I was kicked in the liver during MMA sparring, and it was literally as if my body just shut down. I just fell to the floor. It was hard to breathe and stuff like that. So I do understand that a good body shot can quite literally shut your body down, when maybe Bo Nickel didn't want to quit, but yeah, the body language wasn't good. He was hit with the knee. He went up against the cage, kind of got beaten up. Yeah, Renan de Ridder, great win. He called out Sean Strickland after it. I don't think he's going to get the Sean Strickland matchup. Maybe a Jared Cannonier would be a good one for him, or a Roman Dolidze, something like that. But Renan de Ridder is a problem. This guy is really, really good. Do I think he's going to become world champion? I don't. But I do think the guy is good. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's in and around the 8 to 1 spot by the end of the year. That's how good I think Renan de Ridder is, especially for the size of the guy. He looked massive in there against Bo Nickel in the middleweight division. Moving on, Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez, another somewhat highlight of the card, if we're being honest. I did say in my predictions Daniel Rodriguez does have good hands, but again, I went for experience of Ponzinibbio being in there with more elite guys and just basically being more well-rounded in terms of MMA. Going into the third round though, I did have it 1 each. And then Daniel Rodriguez just kind of throws like a street beef combination from just his hips. He just starts winging shots and he just pieces up Ponzinibbio. Daniel Rodriguez, really good hands. I did think his boxing would be a problem for Ponzinibbio, but I thought Ponzinibbio would have mixed it up a bit more. Maybe held him against the cage, worked his grappling. Yeah, he got 1 takedown in there. He did shoot quite a lot, for being honest. He was 13% on his takedowns, not great. But Daniel Rodriguez, great win for him. Montel Jackson versus Daniel Marcos, not much to talk about, to be honest. Siri City, he got the decision win over Cameron Smotherman. Showed that he does have the gas tank. Not a crazy gas tank, and he did slow down in the fight. But Siri City is known for not having the best gas tank, and he showed an improved one in this matchup. Jeremy Stephens, Mason Jones. Jeremy Stephens is always fun to watch. Mason Jones, granite chin, good win for him. Back in his UFC, after being away. Misha Tate lost. Going through the rest of the card, honestly, there isn't really much even worthwhile talking about. Overall, Deiveson Figueiredo, Corey Sandhagen was pretty disappointing. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you all again in the next one.